The end of Squid Game is causing a lot of controversy. Many loved the symbolic death of Gi-hun, but others hated that decision. To stir up even more debate, the director of the series recently declared that the original ending was going to be very different. Gi-hun's fate was not to die in the grand finale. This was added during production. I'll tell you all about it here. Welcome to Charlietales. Today I will tell you the true ending of Squid Game Season 3. Ready? Let's begin. Recently, Netflix released a special video in which the director of the series, Hwang Dong-hyuk, talks with the main actors about what happened during the season. This special lasts half an hour, and you can watch it on your Netflix accounts. In this video, they asked the director about the ending we saw, and he confirms that things were going to be very different. According to the director, in the original ending, Gi-hun managed to win the games and leave the island. After that, he would go to the United States to find his daughter and reunite with her. Basically, the director is telling us that Gi-hun was supposed to take the place of the frontman in these final scenes. The director also confirms that Gi-hun was supposed to be the one to meet the American recruiter. Gi-hun would be confident, living a happy life, but his peace would be shattered when he discovered that the games were still happening around the world. So the original ending was something similar to what we saw at the end of Season 1, with Gi-hun at the airport. But why was this ending scrapped? According to the director, the main reason was that in his perspective, Gi-hun's journey had already concluded over the 3 seasons. The protagonist had already gone through many adventures and faced the facets of human reality. Gi-hun saved people, made mistakes, and even killed with his own hands. At this point, the best way to close his story was by sacrificing his life for someone defenseless like the baby. Basically, the director is saying that Gi-hun's story was over. It was unnecessary to stretch it further. Taking advantage of the interview, the director also explained what exactly the ending we saw in the series means. The idea was to send a message about humanity. That's why Gi-hun says an incomplete phrase before dying. In his last scene, he says, "We are not horses, we are people, and people are..." According to the director, the phrase is not completed because there is no way to define people with a single word. Human beings are complex, so it would be bold for Gi-hun to define them in his final sentence. The goal was for us as the audience to complete the phrase with what we learned in the series. Throughout the 3 seasons, we have seen all the faces of humanity, from the sweetest to the darkest. We've seen revenge, ambition, and evil, but also hope. The director wanted all these emotions to culminate with Gi-hun's phrase, so we all would have our own answer. Moving away from the production and focusing on the character's perspective, Gi-hun left the phrase incomplete for an important reason. He wanted to send a message to the frontmen and the VIPs, but this message could not be expressed with words, only with actions. That's why he sacrificed his life for the baby just before finishing the sentence. For him, there was no stronger answer than this. Human beings are valuable and can give their lives for others. This could not be expressed by saying it. They had to see proof. There is no greater love than that of one who gives their life for others. For Gi-hun, this was his answer, and it's up to all of us to find our own. I understand that all this feels ambiguous and could be unsatisfying for the audience. Many wanted more concrete answers and less symbolism. In fact, in the same interview, actor Lee Jung-jae says that he had a hard time understanding the emotions of the scene and didn't know how to interpret them correctly. For example, they filmed several versions of the fall. In some of them, Gi-hun cried, but in the end, they discarded those takes and kept the one we saw in the episode. According to the director, the scene had no correct emotion. Everything is left to the interpretation of the audience. That was the goal, and that's why they went with that ending. In summary, this would be the explanation of the ending according to the director, and he also makes it clear why he discarded a more traditional ending, with Gi-hun being happy with his daughter. That would have been a more common and even satisfying ending for the audience. Thanks to Hollywood cinema, we are more used to having concrete answers, happy or sad endings, but an answer nonetheless. On the other hand, the Korean directing style is more subtle and leaves many ambiguities for us to interpret. That can frustrate many, and it shows, as millions of fans were left unsatisfied with the ending. If you ask me, the ideal ending would have been for Gi-hun to die, but at least he would have left a letter for his daughter. In that letter, he would have apologized for never looking for her. That would have closed the story with his daughter, without needing to erase Gi-hun's sacrifice. Back to the topic. There are many reasons why Gi-hun's ending in the United States was discarded. But to me, the most important is that it would have dragged out Gi-hun's story. If Gi-hun discovered the American recruiter, he would understand that the games continue around the world. Gi-hun is not a character who would remain calm upon learning this information. He would do whatever it takes to end them. This would be quite repetitive for the whole franchise. There's no logical way to see Gi-hun entering the games again. Currently, everything indicates that the franchise plans to continue the story in the United States. It's not 100% confirmed, but the clues point to that. So the most logical and practical thing would be to have protagonists from that country. That would refresh the franchise. Another detail is that stretching out Gi-hun's story would be very bad for his character development. Gi-hun has learned a lot since season 1 of the series. His journey has been rough and painful, but even so, he managed to mature and close his story. Continuing to play for a 4th season would be very difficult to write. As it is, it was already very difficult for actor Lee Jung-jae to film the last season. In the same interview, they mentioned that he went through a strict diet for a whole year in order to look thinner and haggard. And during the shoot, he had to restrict himself from eating even more. The actor stated that this cost him a lot emotionally. During filming, he couldn't eat with the rest of the team, but had to go to his car for food from his special diet. This made him uncomfortable because he couldn't share with his friends during meal times. With all this context, and the words of the director, we can infer that no one agreed with making Gi-hun the protagonist of another series. So there are plenty of arguments to explain why the director discarded the ending of Gi-hun in the United States. But who could we see in the United States spin-off? I do think we could see the return of several Korean characters. The clearest would be the frontman. This character changed with Gi-hun's sacrifice. That's why he took the baby and cared for her for 6 months. He regained faith in humanity. I can't say he became 100% good, but he did change. The frontman could be a great support for the next protagonist of the franchise. I don't imagine him as the main character in the United States. I think they're saving that option in case they make the Squid Game prequel. It's been rumored for a while that there could be a prequel telling us how the frontman won the games. Even in the interview, the director mentions it, but says it's too soon to talk about it. Another character who could return is Gi-hun's daughter. She could be one more player in the upcoming games in the United States. Many even tell me she could be the protagonist and would seek answers about her father. Honestly, I doubt that very much. It's clear that the production did everything to close Gi-hun's story. They want to move on to other ideas, and reopening that topic would be repetitive. I do think Gi-hun's daughter could reappear, but with a very small role. There could be references to Gi-hun's sacrifice, but the new series will try to move away from the main plot. Whatever the case may be, Squid Game ended with a controversial finale. Some may like it, others may not. But the important thing is that we will indeed get more of this franchise in the future. That's all for today. If you liked the video, you'd really help me out by leaving a like. That would be legendary. Also, remember to subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for listening. My name is Charlie, and I'll see you in the future.